classrooms, care, and communities. Today, we've introduced the largest increase in school operating funding in the history of the province, the largest increase in healthcare funding in the history of the province, and the largest increase in Saskatchewan's history in municipal revenue sharing for our communities where each of us live. These investments are only possible due to the strength of a growing economy, of which we are so very fortunate to have in this province. Saskatchewan also has a strong financial position as our province continues to maintain the second lowest net debt to GDP ratio in Canada. This budget was created because of the feedback that Saskatchewan people shared with us, with their MLAs, and more broadly with government ministries. And it focuses on the things that matter most to the people of this province: classrooms, care, and communities. I'd be happy to take any questions.
What goes through your mind when you come in here today and you see all the teachers outside rallying and protesting? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's unfortunate. First of all, where there is a rally or a protest, this is the place for that, most certainly. But it's unfortunate because the government has been working very hard to try to find points of agreement with the STF union as they have put them forward, and that's been difficult because they haven't been at the table a whole lot, about 30 minutes in the last 5 months. And so, what I would say is much more difficult and much more bothersome than anything that's happening here today outside of this building is the fact that we are now seeing the union targeting extracurricular activities of our children, targeting the classroom opportunities that our children have today as our classrooms are not open. And so we would respectfully ask, and we would ask parents to join us in asking the STF union to return to the bargaining table. Let's find an agreement that's good for teachers and good for Saskatchewan residents. Let's get our teachers back to the classroom, and let's let the kids play.
On the budget, you are critical of the carbon tax, but your government hasn't reduced taxes in this budget at all. There's no new tax increases. Can you just speak to why you decided not to reduce any taxes in this budget specifically?
Well, we're finding that a balance between some of the most significant investments in healthcare in our classrooms and in our communities versus and trying to preserve the ability for us to keep life as affordable as we can in Saskatchewan. And it is one of the most affordable places, if not the most affordable place to live in Canada today. We have the second lowest utility bundle that you can find in the nation. We have taken initiatives that I've spoken of numerous times to remove 112,000 people from the tax rolls, and the list goes on. We are reducing the carbon taxation that is on home heating fuel in this province to mirror what the federal government has done largely in Atlantic Canada. What we would say when it comes specifically to the carbon tax is let's remove the consumer-based carbon tax. It's not reducing emissions in any way. In fact, the federal government is actually moving away from that argument, saying it's more of a wealth distribution tax today, which is not the way that it was introduced. It was not the way that the Supreme Court of Canada looked at it. And I would say that it should be removed on everything for everyone. And a case in point is it is one of the inflationary drivers that families are dealing with and facing each and every day. We've removed just that carbon tax from our home heating, and we've dropped a full percentage point here in Saskatchewan with our consumer price index. And so it is an inflationary driver. It's driving inflation not only here but in other areas of Canada. We'd ask the federal government to reconsider. It's not reducing emissions, it's increasing inflation and making life more difficult for Canadian families.
Can you address those people who are critical of you or your government for not presenting a balanced budget? This is notwithstanding that.
Yeah.
This is another deficit budget after we're told for obviously surpluses in the out years, but who knows? Is there a problem with your government after being for so long just not being able to balance the budget? A lot of people wonder why government can't.
Oh, well, we were working towards that, and we'll continue to work towards that balanced budget as this year goes on, and we'll are forecasting a balance and a slight surplus next year and surpluses into the future. I would say as we went through the last number of years, there's been some really unprecedented things that this government and governments across the nation and around the world have had to face, and we had taken a number of significant deficit budgets as we worked our way through a global pandemic, supporting families, supporting businesses. In the 2 years after that, we were able to take some surplus dollars due to some increases in natural resource pricing that we saw. We took those surplus dollars and were able to pay down that operating deficit debt that we had accumulated during that time. As the Minister of Finance, the Deputy Premier has explained, our operating debt in this province, the operation of the government, has been stable to decreasing over that period of time. And largely what is driving any of the debt that the government has today is really similar to owning your home. We are putting cash and using debt to continue to build schools, for instance, 11 new schools this year, to continue to build hospitals in our community. And so it's the capital plan that is really putting pressure on the budget today, has for a few years now, and will continue to put pressure on that budget, I think, for the at least short to medium term future. But it is a conversation that we are going to have to continue to have, is, as we grow as a province and as we need to build out our services, we need to ensure that we're doing it in a sustainable fashion financially. And so the goal this year was to balance that budget, all the while ensuring that we are making the investments that are necessary in and really the investments that Saskatchewan people expect in their classrooms, in our communities, in healthcare in our communities, and more broadly in the communities themselves, through whether it be municipal revenue sharing or infrastructure cost sharing that we do between municipalities and the federal government. And so that is the balance. We need to continue to work, I think, throughout this year towards that balanced budget, the zero mark, and most certainly ensure that we stay on track for a small surplus next year.
I guess heading into an election on the back of two deficit budgets, are you at all concerned about how that might affect the party?
Well, an election this is a budget, and this is about balancing, the funds and the funds that we have to invest in the priorities that Saskatchewan people put forward. And I would say that the historic investment that you're seeing, in particular in classrooms, care, and communities, is only available and only possible due to the strength of a strong and growing and vibrant economy here in Saskatchewan today. That's the budget. An election is different. An election is about choice, and it's about multiple records of whether it be our government or really one other party that would be could viably hope to form a government in this province. And so, I would say that people are going to make that choice about who is best to continue to foster the strength of that economy so that we can make these investments, not just in the short term, but in the medium to long term as well. Who is best to foster and continue to build on the strength of that economy, building on the strength of the communities that we have from corner to corner in this province, to ensure that our children have a brighter future than maybe we even did. And so a budget is a governance piece on balancing the priorities of all Saskatchewan people. An election very much is about choice, choosing between, in our case, one party or another.
How do these priorities justify
The priorities of building out healthcare in our communities, the priorities investing in cancer care in our communities, the priorities and the question earlier of the conversation that we're having with our education sector today about investing heavily. The largest operational investment in classrooms and in our educational sector, the largest operational transfer to school divisions in the history of the province. I think that's a priority of Saskatchewan people today. We have seen growth not only in population but in some of the very real complexities in our classroom, and that does take funds transferred to the school divisions, locally elected school divisions, so that they can make the decisions that are best for the community and where their schools are located, and are best for the classrooms that are in each of those individual schools. And that's why you have seen that record amount of funding, that operational transfer of $180 million increase, the largest increase in the history of the province, coming in this budget. Not so much because it might be politically viable or beneficial for an election, but because Saskatchewan people are asking for that investment. Our students and their families are asking for that investment. The teachers are asking for that investment. The school divisions have signed a 4-year agreement saying that will be the base investment moving forward. The only one that has not agreed to this investment is the STF union. And we again would ask them to return to the table, allow our teachers to return to the classroom, and let the kids play. Let the kids do their extracurricular sports, and let the kids back into their classrooms. Very challenging. Very challenging not only in this budget, but I think more broadly, as we're coming off 2, possibly in some parts of the province, even 3 very, very dry years. Now, contrast that with some other areas of the province that had, significant yields this year. And so, herein lies the challenge of being an agricultural-based economy. And that is what is driving and is the spinal cord of our economy in this province. Even in this year where we had significant drought in certain areas for the second and sometimes third year, we're increasing the value of what we're exporting. $20 billion which meets our growth plan goal. $20 billion in ag exports just this year, and that's a credit to the entire industry starting to increase really not only the yield, but increasing the value of what we are exporting around the world. We have a vibrant crop insurance program in place. I know there's some questions as to how the dollars flow, what's in the base fund, and how the premiums will flow. The program and the base funding that crop insurance has and the agreements that we have with the federal government are sound and solid, and the reinsurance measures will kick in should there be another drought in part or across the province. But let's be clear. Agriculture is very much at the very base. It is the spinal cord of the Saskatchewan economy. We have mining, we have oil production, we have all of these value-added opportunities that are arriving and are buffering and really diversifying our economy. But we have, and for the foreseeable future, are going to rely on strong agricultural industry, and one that I would say we are globally leading in when it comes to production, when it comes to value add, and when it comes to sustainability. And that's why one of the largest reasons why we were at COP28 was really to tell the full story of Saskatchewan from a sustainability perspective, but very much in particular the sustainability story on behalf of our ag industry, which is leading the world.
In fairness, healthcare anywhere in the country isn't doing great right now. As much as $7.59 billion sounds great, record investment, awesome. Is that potentially indicative of a worst-case scenario, this type of unreal or unseen investment?
Well, first, I would say it's significant. It's the largest investment that our health budget has ever received with respect to what the increase is. And I'd say that Saskatchewan people now expect the Saskatchewan Health Authority to allocate that investment where it is required so that the Saskatchewan Health Authority, which is the operational arm of our health system, is able to actually operationalize and deliver the services that Saskatchewan people expect. And they are doing so in many ways. Our health human resource plan that is in action and has been funded over $100 million applied to the most ambitious health human resource plan in the nation of Canada. Just this past year has hired about 1,000 Canadian nursing grads of various designations and has hired over 400 grads from the Philippines as well. I think 170 of them are in Saskatchewan facilities, in Saskatchewan communities offering services today. And so we are finding our way through this, like other provinces are attempting to as well. Our surgical wait times are down 23%. More work to do, admittedly, and more investment in this budget, but more work to do. And so there are challenges, no doubt, not only in Saskatchewan. There are healthcare challenges across the nation. And I talk to my colleagues at the Council of Federation table and at our First Minister's table about those very challenges. But what I think you're seeing in this province is a government that is most certainly dedicated not only to working with our stakeholders, our folks that are in the healthcare sector on realizing what we can do to achieve better results in delivering healthcare, and then funding it. Funding those results. Most recently, there was some discussion around some of the special warrants. Over $400 million of the special warrants in Q3 of this past year were to do with enhancing healthcare in our communities. I think, was it $100 or $200 million of those dollars were actually to start to change the physician contract that we have to ensure that we're competitive, not only with other provinces in attracting physicians into Saskatchewan, but competitive with the rest of the world. In addition to wage, there's other spaces where I think we can do some real good in attracting people into our healthcare system. The Breast Health Center of Excellence here in Regina. That will help attract cancer care doctors into the community of Regina. The Jim Pattison Children's Hospital in Saskatoon. That helps attract, joined to the College of Medicine, that helps attract not only researchers in the space of youth health, but doctors and surgeons in that space as well. And so I think there's more that we're able to do in that space. We had, renewed some funding with respect to not just breast health care that we announced here this past week, but there's funding in this budget as well for ovarian cancer research to ensure that, you know, those women that may present with ovarian cancer in the future are going to have a better chance of survival than they have in years gone by. And I think those are the investments that Saskatchewan people expect from this provincial government. Those investments are being made in our Saskatchewan Health Authority with an over 10% increase this year. And now I think the expectation from Saskatchewan people is that those investments will be deployed to achieve the results that they expect.
Is there money in this year's budget allocated to paying off any of the post debt?
Yeah, so again, I will go back to the capital debt that is there. As our operating debt has been fairly static or up or down a little bit. The government or taxpayer supported debt on the Crown side is really paid for by the power bills that we have, the energy bills that we have. And so when there's asks to reduce our power bill or energy bills, know that that's paying off some of the capital, the cellular towers that they're purchasing, some of the generation, the power generation equipment, the natural gas plants that we're building. So really it's down to the capital debt. So the 11 schools this year, for example, the investments in the Prince Albert Hospital, Weyburn Hospital, some of the planning dollars that are going into Yorkton, Roster, and Esterhazy, those types of investments. And so what we are doing with those investments is much like when you buy a house, is you allocate a certain amount of cash to those investments, and then you also take a mortgage on those capital investments as well. And that's why, and largely why you're seeing some debt increase this year, is because we have a very ambitious outbuild, $4 billion in total, very ambitious outbuild, but even on the executive capital side. And this is the challenge of growth. You know, the challenge, when you have a declining population and your economy is declining in value, you have the not challenges of decline, the problems of decline. These are challenges of growth, and we embrace them, but nonetheless, they are challenges, and we are taking some of the cash that we have as a government, only due to the strength of our economy, putting that towards building some of this infrastructure that is needed in our communities, but we're also loaning some dollars and putting away then some sinking funds to pay for that into the future. One note, as one of the schools on the east side of Saskatoon, as they've been working through the discussion on building that particular school, and it has greatly increased in size to the point that I believe that one high school is going to be in a neighborhood of 3,400 or 3,600 kids, youth that will be in that school. It's an incredible size of school, and not one that I think even 10 or 15 years ago would even be under consideration in this province. And that's just significant of how quickly our population is growing, in particular in our urban centers, but also growing in rural communities across the province.
I think in the light of an affordability crisis that residents are seeing, just a couple of years ago, your government added the PST to several things, food and dining and sporting events and things like that. PST, or the sales tax, is now reaching record revenues. Why not pull some of that back to relieve some of the pressure that residents are seeing?
So those dollars, first of all, a portion of those dollars go to the municipal revenue sharing, so go right back into our communities. And then secondly, those dollars also go into paying for building these schools, building the hospitals, and increasing, for example, the over 1,000 nursing staff that we have hired in this past year through the SHA and are going to be offering services in our communities. The $180 million operating increase to our school divisions, I suspect there's going to be a significant amount of teachers that are going to be hired to teach in classrooms that are coming at the portable schools that were announced a few weeks ago in Q3 of last year's budget, or the portable classrooms that are announced in this particular budget, or the new schools that will be opening as well. And so as your community grows and your economy grows, you do need the funds to be able to actually fund our public education system and our public healthcare system. You also you raise a very good point, because I think we also need to be very circumspect of any tax increases and be able to explain why they are there and where they are going and what they are funding. No one can do that with the carbon tax, which is driving up the inflationary cost of us building those very schools, us building those power generation plants, and us building those hospitals. It's driving up the cost of the everyday life of the nurses that are working in those hospitals, of the teachers that are out here today or working in our schools on a regular day. There is no plausible explanation. It isn't reducing emissions in any measurable amount, and it certainly isn't making life more affordable. Most certainly today, that is most evident with the consumer price index in Saskatchewan being 1 point below Canada's consumer price index, and explained by Stats Canada as that's just simply the removal of the carbon tax off our home heating, natural gas, and electricity. What do you think that would go to if we took it off fuel? 17 cents off fuel.
How do you respond to the finance minister's saying she wish she could have balanced the budget and lowered the PST or the tax rate?
I agree with her. I wish too. We wouldn't be able to make the over 10% increase in healthcare if we were to do that. We wouldn't be able to make the $180 million increase in our operational funding up to $2.2 billion to our school divisions, investing in the very concerns that we share with the teachers that are outside here today. We wouldn't be able to transfer a 14% increase in municipal funding, understanding the inflationary pressures that our communities, municipal governments, are facing as well. Over $250 million that is transferred to First Nations communities across the province in supporting their communities. Wouldn't happen if we were to make some different decisions in reducing taxes. And the question is when you make those decisions, and I wish we could, who pays? Do you remove the graduate retention program for the young family that has just had a child and has made their home in a Saskatchewan community and is looking to raise that child in that Saskatchewan community and is counting on that $20,000 over the next 7 years coming off of their tax rate? Who pays? In the past, we've seen governments that have made, various decisions and then had to increase the PST to 9% in this province. And we're doing everything we can to be responsible with the investments we're making, which I would say this year are, in many cases, record investments, but preserving the affordability measures that we already have in place that are removing folks from the tax rolls in our province, that are allowing us to have the second lowest utility bundle in the nation of Canada. It's not perfect, but when you stack it up alongside many other provinces across this nation and around the world, we're pretty fortunate. We're very fortunate in Saskatchewan, and it's because of the people that live here.